Hi, this is Paul Acevedo of Windows Phone Central, here with a video review of Babel Rising 3D for Windows Phone and Windows 8. There are Windows Phone 7 and Windows Phone 8 versions of the game. They both have their own achievement lists. They're identical, but you can get achievements from both of them if you have both kinds of devices. Babel Rising 3D is based on the biblical myth about the Tower of Babel. There's a campaign with a total of 15 different missions to play through. Interestingly, and not exactly to the game's benefit, you can't just play through the campaign missions all in a row. You will not be able to level up your powers fast enough. So you'll have to do some grinding in survival mode, which is labeled as quick play. In survival mode, you can pick different missions to unlock if you want. There's a total of 5 different areas. So you always start with the base of a tower, and humans, which are the enemies in this game, will start trying to build the tower, and you just try to hold them off as long as you can. You might also be playing for points and things like that. You can have 2 different powers to take into the level from a set of 4. I've got earth powers here. You can see I'm dropping rocks on these guys. Then over here I tap that and I can use fire powers. These tutorials are annoying. This guy here is carrying a poison jar. If you break a poison jar, you temporarily cannot use the power that broke the jar. I can still use other fire powers, just not that exact one. So with each type of power, you have one tapping attack, then you have one click and drag attack in which you hold one finger on the screen and drag with the other finger. And then you have a super power, I forget what they're called, ultimate powers I guess, that are really destructive and they take a long time to charge up. I'll show you that in a sec. This is a priest. Priests have shields against specific colored powers. Like if the guy has a fire shield, then a fire power will not work on him and you have to use a different color. Alright, so we'll shaking the device activates your ultimate power, or you can tap all 3 fingers on screen at once, but shaking is actually a better way to do it if you want to aim your attack at all. Here's the ultimate firepower. You can see the enemies come on pretty quickly. They are pretty much relentless unless you're getting to the end of a wave, and so you're destined to die. Especially if your powers aren't built up, you're just going to have a really hard time. The dragging powers, they don't work very well. Like they often will not line up right with what you're trying to do. Like it'd be a lot better if they were locked to whatever the pathway is, but instead I might drag and part of my power goes into the background instead of where the guys can actually walk. Also, sometimes the power will stop early for no reason really, even though you dragged your finger. It might only cover like half the distance, and that makes the game harder than it should be. Also, just switching back and forth between the 2 powers, to me it's a little bit too slow of a process. I don't really like that. I wish you could just do them all at once. When the enemies get to the top, you lose, and that's what has just happened. Here's the shop. You can upgrade your individual powers or see a list of them all for some reason. Passive powers, which you can have one passive power each time you play, and so usually you would want to do the one where all of your elementals charge faster. You can buy scrolls to help you along, and once you're maxed out on everything else, that's all you can really spend money on is scrolls, or you can unlock missions that you haven't done yet. Now let's look at the Windows 8 version of the game. I have it here running on a Surface, and I'm using mouse and keyboard controls. Cursor is a little tiny, and very easy to lose, but there it is. You could of course use touch controls if you wanted. Here's where you activate a passive power. We're just going to go back and play. In the Windows 8 version of the game, you can use the keyboard controls to scroll the camera around. Clicking obviously activates a regular power, then clicking and dragging does the dragging power. Scroll the mouse wheel to switch between your two powers, which is pretty convenient, or press the control key. So I think I like mouse and keyboard controls a little better just because switching between the powers and having a little bit more accuracy with your dragging is nice. This version also has one more control style, and that is using an Xbox 360 controller. With the 360 controller, the right stick pans, left stick moves the cursor. A button does your left power's quick drop, X button does the left power's click and drag, B does your right power's quick drop, Y does the click and drag for it. So you have instant access to all those powers. And I believe the trigger does your ultimate power. I don't have a trigger now. There is a downside to these controls. Let me push start to pause. Now check it out. I have no cursor control at all during menus. So that's kind of underbaked because it's already got built-in cursor control with a controller during gameplay, so why can't they let you control the menus with it too? That's a drag, but at least if you like how a controller feels, you can use it during gameplay and then just use the touch screen to control the menus. Babel Rising 3D is an interesting game. It has a good premise that I like a lot. However, I really don't like having to wait for all my powers to constantly fill up, and I feel like the enemies move a little too fast, for me anyway. Like, not everybody thinks the game is that hard, but it's hard enough for me. And it takes too long to get to the good stuff, too long to upgrade your powers. Like, I just find the grinding phase really unnecessary for this particular game. Like, it's not fun to me not to have my powers upgraded. And even when they are upgraded, they take too long to fill up. But if you're looking for something different and you like the concept, you might end up enjoying it. Thanks for watching. Read the full review at wpcentral.com.